Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is FPL Roxas and today I'll be sharing my Gameweek34 free hit team. It's another double game week and I've activated my free hit. In this video, I'll be showing you guys how my current free hit draft looks like, and I'll also have a section where I'll show some players that aren't currently in the draft but I'm carefully considering. As usual, feel free to like and subscribe if you found the video enjoyable. Alright, let's start the team selection video. Before we get into the free hit stuff, I'll just have a quick review of how I performed for game 33. I made a rash decision which shouldn't be followed, where I made an early transfer right after game 32 ended, removing Saka for Foden, hoping that he would play a few minutes in the Champions League and then start the game for game 33 against Luton. That didn't work out as he got injured during the game against Madrid and then went on to stay on the bench for the Luton game. Anyways, it worked out in my favor in the end as Saka blanked and I got bench points from Garnacho as Foden didn't play a single minute. A lot of the highly owned players blanked this week, and that has probably affected quite a lot of teams, like Salah, Son, and Saka specifically blanking. Isaac scored a brace for me, which probably saved my game week. The main talking point for game 33 was Palmer's 26-point haul from his 4 goals against Everton. No one really expected that big of an individual performance from him, and according to Live FPL, he's very highly owned around my rank, so every point he gets wouldn't have moved me much in rank, as it should usually. In the end, I got a total of 78 points, which was enough for a small green arrow from 990k to 920k. Again, my rank is still really bad compared to the previous seasons, but we move on. Moving right over into my free hit team, here is how my current draft looks like. This draft isn't final and is bound to change over the coming days as I get more information from players involved in the European competitions, just in case they get injured or they get a lot of minutes and maybe there might be minutes risks for the coming double. I'll explain my reasons for each pick, and there will be another section after this one which involves players that I don't have in the current draft but I'm considering to bring in. So starting with my goalkeepers, I've got Dean Henderson and Jose Sa. They both have home fixtures for the double, and they do average quite a lot of saves per game, hence why I chose them. I currently have Henderson starting, and that's simply because he's got better fixtures on paper. For the defenders, I've chosen Van Dijk, Gabriel, Senesi, Aitnori, and Dalot. Van Dijk is here because he's the most nailed player out of all the other Liverpool defenders. The double looks quite good on paper, but they're both away games, so that's going to add into the difficulty for each game. I think there's a potential for a clean sheet from either one of the games, as Liverpool, even when they aren't in the best of form recently, they still have one of the better defenses in the league. Gabriel I've chosen for his goal threat during corners. He's one of the few defenders that I think is able to do some damage during set pieces. The fixtures aren't the best, but Arsenal are the number 1 defense in the league, so I think it's possible for him to return through clean sheet points or even a goal for the double. Senesi is currently in a placeholder spot. This spot right here is most likely going to change as I tinker more with different drafts. He actually isn't that bad as an option, as he has had a few goal involvements this season. The problem for this week is that he has Villa and Wolves, and both fixtures are away from home. I don't really see Bournemouth getting a clean sheet from the double, so yeah, he's most likely going to be replaced. Aitnuri will stay in all my drafts, I think, if I have information that he's guaranteed to start both the games and get at least I don't know, over 60 minutes in both the games, at least getting those guaranteed 2 points. He's still flagged, as I'll have to wait until the press conferences to know more about his availability, but for now, I think he's going to stay in my draft. Dalot is the only single game player in my free hit draft. He has Sheffield at home, which I think is a really good fixture to attack. United haven't been the best, especially in defense, but a game against Sheffield could be the one where they can get a clean sheet from. Dalot also plays quite high, and he roams around the midfield a lot, so he can provide attacking returns as well. For the midfielders, I've chosen Eze, Olise, Saka, Havertz, and Salah. Eze and Olise are massive differentials with haul potential. They're only 3.6 and 0.5% owned currently, and they have home games against West Ham and Newcastle. I think they could get some returns over the double. Eze is a guaranteed starter when he's fit, and for Olise, he was nailed before he got injured. Right now, he's fit, and I can see him starting at least one game and then a sub appearance for the other. And for Eze, I think he should be able to start both games. Either way, I think they're both amazing picks. Saka and Havertz has Wolves away and Chelsea at home. For these two, it's important to monitor their minutes during the Champions League. If Saka plays the full 90 in the Bayern game, his playtime for double will decrease a lot, as the gap between each match is very short. There's just like 3 days between the Champions League game and then the Wolves game, and then 3 days again between the Wolves game and the Chelsea game. There's not that much time to rest. Same goes for Havertz. His minutes will also depend on this, and also the minutes of the players that share his position, like Jesus and even Odegaard when Havertz has to play in midfield. Saka is still a good option in my opinion, even with the potential minutes risk. Arsenal are fighting for the title, and I don't think they can afford to drop any more points. And Arteta would not let him rest anytime soon. And he's on the penalties as well. It's hard not to include him for the free hit. Havertz is in surprisingly great scoring form and has been starting a lot of games, so I decided to include him in my current draft. And my last midfielder is Salah. He has Fulham and Everton both away from home. He has the Europa League match against Atalanta before the double. He should be starting both the games in the double, as Liverpool's also in the title race, so I don't really see Klopp benching his best player. For my forwards, I've chosen Cunha, Solanke, and Darwin. Cunha is a player that I really like, and despite the fixtures being difficult on paper, I do think he's capable of scoring regardless. Solanke also has tough fixtures, but he's having his best goal scoring season, and I know he'll want to add more to that in the remaining games, so he's a must pick for me. Darwin, I currently have benched because now that Jota is back from injury, the competition for the starting spot for Liverpool's attack gets very tight. It's possible that he starts one of the doubles, and then Jota or Gakpo could start the other one. I haven't really decided my captaincy for this week. It could be anyone from my seven starting attackers, to be honest. My thinking behind creating my drafts is that I'm going to need a few differential picks that could actually score points instead of just blindly picking whoever doubles this week. I need to do so in order to be able to get a bigger green arrow for this game week. I feel like this current draft isn't perfect. One thing I'm not too sure about for this draft at the moment is that I only have two Liverpool players starting, with the assumption that Darwin won't be getting a lot of minutes for the double. I'd like to have Luis Diaz in here, but I'm going to need to make some time to analyze his recent performance data and see if he's better than my current midfield. There are a lot of good midfield options for this week, but the problem is that there are only 5 spots available. I've also considered having a triple Arsenal setup with 2 defenders and one midfielder instead of my current setup of 1 defender and 2 midfielders. It's another dilemma to think about, but both are good cores. Before we end the video, I've included this section to show you guys some of the players that are currently in my mind and are possible additions to my free hit team for this week. First up is Burton Diaz, who has been starting a lot of games and is only owned by 0.3% of FPL managers. He's actually a decent goal threat with an expected goal involvement of 0.53 per 90, and he could be a great pick. And second is Luis Diaz. I, of course, had to include. I rate him quite highly as a pick, and he has good data and has started most of the games this season. I've tinkered with the draft a lot of times to include him, but the thing is, I'm not sure on who to choose between him, Elise, and Havertz. But I think he's going to be included in my draft soon. But I'm not sure who to remove between, yeah, Havertz or Elise. And then there is Trent. He's here because I know that if he doesn't start for the Europa League, he's going to be a proper differential for the double. I can see him starting both games, and we know how good he is in the attack and in set pieces. Conor Bradley is out injured as well for I think quite long term, so Trent's potential minutes is gonna rise a lot. I'll make sure to monitor the upcoming game against Atalanta to see if Trent plays a lot of minutes, and then I'll decide on whether he should be considered for my free hit or not. Mateta is also an option, but only if I want to bring in Luis Diaz. The reason is that I already have 3 Liverpool players and 3 Palace players. If I want to bring Luis Diaz in, I would have to replace Darwin to free up that Liverpool spot. And then I can bring in Mateta for Darwin. And then I will be able to bring in Luis Diaz that will come in for Olise, who has to be removed from my team. I don't think that Mateta is that great of a pick for the double, as he does have to compete with Edward for the starting spot. But Mateta has started most of the games this season and is in pretty good form recently, so I could be completely wrong about him being a bad pick. Even so, I think I'm only going to have him so that I can have Luis Diaz in my draft. Tarek Mitchell is also a pretty good differential. His attacking data isn't that good, but he does get some occasional assists. Also, Palace just won 1-0 against Liverpool, which was quite a shock to everyone. So for these home games against West Ham and Newcastle, I think it's definitely possible to get a clean sheet again. And lastly, there's Mikolenko. He's here as an option if I feel like I don't want Dallo anymore. Everton has Forest and Liverpool at home. Two teams with quality front lines. It could be difficult for Everton to get a clean sheet in these games, but it's definitely not impossible. And that wraps up this week's team selection video. Good luck to everyone for Gameweek 34. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to be updated on my latest uploads. I'll be uploading every week, so stay tuned. Leave a comment if you'd like, and thanks for watching the video.